What's up, people? Jay here. Just got done watching Monday Night Raw, the second week into the brand extension, and it's already over. Go ahead and close up shop. WWE is a wild, wild west. Once again, no more boundaries. Everybody is everywhere. No, seriously. But no, actually, shit, seriously. A superstar from SmackDown showed up on Monday Night Raw, and that person was Randy Orton. He ran in towards the end of the show and interrupted a segment featuring Paul Heyman, insisting that Randy Orton could not hit the RKO on the Beast Incarnate Brock Lesnar. And Randy ran out to prove that he could do exactly that, which serves as build-up for their match at SummerSlam. Here's the thing. In a perfect world, this would have never happened. And I'm not necessarily going to say it would have never happened, but it would have happened at a different time. Because like I said, this is only the second week in the brand extension. And I, just like a lot of other folks out there, we wanted to see this very clear dividing line between SmackDown and Raw. No mixing, especially this early on. But we have Randy Orton appearing on Raw to promote this inter-brand feud. And even though I would not have gone about things this way, like, it's so weird because I wish we were in some kind of alternate universe to where if we had an inter-promotional match going on between Raw and SmackDown, it would have been somewhere down the line after the brand split happened, a year or two, and then we could have used that moment with Randy Orton to kick off this big war between the two shows. Like, kick it off organically, not like the bullshit bragging rights that WWE does and stuff like that. Because what was interesting was at the end of the show, I could hear Stephanie shrieking, and she was saying, "This is all Shane. This is all Shane," making it seem as if this was some big operation on the hands of, you know, the powers that be from SmackDown wanting to invade Monday Night Raw. That would have been a cool story to explore somewhere down the line, but we don't live in that alternate universe. We live in the world which we are in right now, and this is what happened. Even though this is not the way that I would have wanted for things to go, especially this early on in the brand split, I can't deny that it was a very cool move, and it came out of nowhere, just like that fucking RKO did. So, yeah, it was cool. Like, I liked it. I'm not going to complain too much about it. I'm just going to say, once this match is over with, WWE, make it a while before you explore an inter-promotional feud again. Because for this to work, for me to get what I want out of this brand split, I do need that dividing line between Raw and SmackDown. And it needs to be clear. It needs to be just very apparent. I need that dividing line there. So now that we've gotten that out of the way, I have a few topics I want to cover. The opening segment of the show. Now, I've been one to criticize WWE for these long-ass opening segments that they do when you have the Authority going out there and they would repeat the same friggin' things over and over again, and they would give their monologue, and it just got to the point where it was so repetitive, and I just hated it. Now, this was a pretty long opening segment as well, but it featured a lot of new faces. We had Sasha Banks opening up the show. Charlotte joined her in the ring. We had Chris Jericho in the ring, Enzo in there, and it was a very fun dynamic established between all of them, and I think that that did wonders for the feud for the Women's Championship. Now, this may sound crazy, but for a person like Chris Jericho to interject himself into the feud for the Women's Championship and speak his mind on what's going on, that in and of itself made the championship feel more important, made that feud feel more important, because there's been this dividing line between the male superstars and the female superstars, and to know that there are people on the male side of things who give a damn about what's going on with the Women's Championship, that means something. And I thought that it was nicely executed with all of those people in the ring, and the match that happened with Sasha Banks being pinned just a week after winning the damn championship. I understand the story that WWE is attempting to tell here. Charlotte was talking about how this was a fluke victory from Sasha, her winning the Women's Championship. I understand that, but I just don't like that they went to Sasha getting this loss so early into her title reign. She's had the damn championship for 7 friggin' days and she's already losing to Charlotte. I wish that things would have been done differently, in a sense that you put the struggle on Charlotte, or not even necessarily the struggle on Charlotte, but put the rage and put the fury on Charlotte, because she was doing a lot of smiling and she was way too happy with stuff that was going on. Like when Chris Jericho was complimenting her and stuff, talking about how she was a princess, she was all smiling and shit. Like, girl, do you not know that you lost your championship a week ago, especially with all of the pride that you had with holding that title? I want to see some of that like burst out onto the scene, and I wish that things would have been done differently, in a sense that we saw Charlotte in a match with, you know, whoever. It could be anybody. Just let her let out some rage on somebody. Let her kick that girl's ass. And then she's going back and she's chasing after her championship that Sasha Banks has. And the reason why I say that is because that's actually a little bit of the story that I wanted WWE to tell with Charlotte coming out of WrestleMania. I wanted Charlotte to lose at WrestleMania, not because I dislike Charlotte. I'm actually a fan of Charlotte, but I wanted her to lose because I thought that giving her character a new dynamic and having her be mad about history passing her by, about somebody snatching her championship away from her in such a big moment, I thought that that would have been a cool story to see her feel entitled to have the championship and feeling as if it's been stolen away from her. And they could have told that story if she lost at WrestleMania, and they could also tell that story right now, because it's kind of the same thing. Like, it was a big dynamic shift with introducing the women's championship then, and this is a new era. Could you just imagine Charlotte going out to the ring being pissed off at the fact that she carried the championship for 300 days or however long it was, a combined reign of the Divas Championship and the Women's Championship, and then she's looking at Sasha Banks like, okay, Raw is entering into this new era. This should be my time. The spotlight should be on me, but you stole my damn title. You stole my moment. You stole my position in the spotlight. You stole my role as a queen of WWE, the best female competitor in WWE, all of that stuff. So I just think that, like, I didn't like the fact that they, you know, put the burden on Sasha Banks this early into her title reign. There was a lot more story to explore with Charlotte chasing after Sasha on the road to SummerSlam. Now, I'm going to talk a little bit about Sheamus and Cesaro. I loved what I saw out of these guys. I forget when this was. Maybe, correct me if I'm wrong. I think these guys were in like an elimination chamber together. They were in some kind of multi-person match, and I saw them, and they were going at it with each other, and I was like, goddamn, I want to see a feud between Cesaro and Sheamus, because these are two very stiff guys, two hard hitters, and there's something about them. I think that there's like a chemistry that WWE could explore, and I'm glad to see that WWE is doing it right now. And what I'm especially glad to see is that they're using the brand split, this draft, as a catalyst to reinvigorate these characters, to push the reset button on these characters. And that backstage segment that they had with Mick Foley and Stephanie, that was very important, because that's something that I've wanted to see from WWE for a while now. Like, don't just change characters out of nowhere. Add a friggin' catalyst, like something that makes them change. If you have a character whose career has been stalling out, like Sheamus, you have a character in Cesaro, he's wondering, I'm talented, I have everything to offer, and you know, I should be going higher up in the draft, but he sinks down low on the draft card. And you know, the way that they incorporated that shoulder injury of his in the medical report, that was adding a little bit of realism to things. I thought that that was really cool, and trying to, you know, reinvigorate Sheamus and tell him that he's lost a step, and you know, he hasn't been he's been off track since I think it was Michael Cole that said Sheamus has been off track since the League of Nations broke up. To be quite honest, shit, he was off track in the League of Nations. The whole fuck. No, you know what? The group wasn't off track. They were on track. They were laying on the fucking railroad tracks and they got ran over by the train. That's what that was. The No Power Rangers. But I digress. We're actually talking about some good stuff. I liked that they used this draft as a catalyst for, you know, different times for Cesaro and Sheamus. In the match that they had, it was a really hard-hitting match. They bickered a little bit after the match, and I'm really looking forward to see what happens with these two characters going forward. But this week, right here, great stuff from them. Okay. I'll say that I got some great stuff out of Nia Jax as well. I'm a big fan of Nia Jax. I think that she did some really good work down in NXT, and the journey that she went on, the evolution that she went on to improving her craft and actually, you know, taking developmental for all that it's worth, it reaped some great benefits from her. And I really like these squash matches that she's having, and I think the squash matches are important. But I'm not even going to necessarily talk about her. I'm going to talk about a comment that was made from Michael Cole on commentary, because comments like this, they piss me off to the highest level of pissivity. When Michael Cole looked at Nia Jax, a person who is dominant, a person who is powerful, a person who is booked as a monster, a person who is supposed to be scary, inflicting violence on her opponents. And this motherfucker had the nerve to say Nia Jax is fun to watch. Now, for a person out there who, like, this isn't going to resonate with everyone. Not everyone watching this video right now is going to understand what I'm saying, because you may not give a rat's ass. You look at it like an off comment. It didn't mean much. But for a person like me that finds story in everything that's going on, that realizes this WWE universe, there's so much to the production, so much to the narrative that is crafted around the wrestlers on the roster, and how commentary plays into it, how just everything comes. Is it not just about that one person and what they do in the ring? It's about how they carry themselves. It's about how other people talk about them. It's about how other people look at them. Stuff like that pisses me off, because I think it's cool for us as fans to look at someone like, and someone actually said this on Twitter, well, Brock Lesnar is fun to watch, and he's scary, and he's dominant, and he's powerful. It's okay for us as fans to say things like that, but I don't like it when the announcers do it, because they're a part of the fictional universe in WWE, and I don't need you to tell me that Nia Jax is fun to watch. I need you to continue to push the message that she's fucking dangerous, that she is powerful, in the sense that when she gets into that ring, there's a great chance that she's not only going to defeat you, but homegirl is going to hurt you. She's going to injure your ass. But the problem that comes into play with WWE, and the reason why they kind of pull back on stuff like that, is because, honestly, I can't say what the fuck the reason is. Maybe it's because they, just like Paul Heyman was talking about later on in the show, and it's so interesting that I tweeted that out, and Paul Heyman kind of mentioned it in his promo when he was talking about how Brock Lesnar isn't politically correct. And he talked about how Brock Lesnar was violent, and he made it seem as if violence was a bad word to use in WWE. And that boggles my fucking mind, because WWE, the whole structure of WWE is built on simulated violence. But you try to run away from that when you look at people who are violent, who are dominant, who are powerful, who are monsters, and you call them fun to watch. And you pull away from the violence when you call weapons toys, and when the wrestlers are in the ring and they're fighting and they're kicking each other's asses and they're sacrificing so much of who they are and their health and safety and all of that stuff, and you're, oh my God, this is awesome. Like, you don't play up the simulated violence portion of it. And I wish that they would do that more often, and I wish that they understood that complete picture that comes into play when you look at a person like Nia Jax. Maybe this was a one-off thing, but You know, and like I said, not everybody is going to get it, but that's something that I paid attention to that I just, it irked me. It chapped my ass. What else do we have? The final thing I want to talk about in this video is Seth freaking Rollins. Now, you all know I've had my issues with Seth Rollins, and I'm glad that that's all past. It's all in the past now. And some folks are going to look at this and say that I'm jumping on the bandwagon. Some folks are going to look at this and say that, like, some guy last week called me fickle when I was talking about Dolph Ziggler, because in the video I mentioned that at one point I was a fan of Dolph Ziggler, and he said that I was fickle. And the other funny part was that he said that he was like, oh, I bet you loved when Dolph Ziggler cashed in Money in the Bank and won the World Championship, which I thought was fucking hilarious, because if you know anything about me, you know that I fucking hated that moment, because it was straight up bullshit just for shock value and not any real story behind it. And people went crazy when Dolph Ziggler was a fucking nobody before he won the championship, and not too much after either. But that's another story for another day, a day like Tuesday, maybe. But yeah, I don't even know what I was saying. Oh, what I was saying was, like, it's easy for me to look at people differently, but the reason why I look at people differently is because it's based off of the booking. If a person is booked like shit, then I'm going to acknowledge it to be so. And the one thing that I have going in my favor is that I'm too hip to trip. Like, you'll never catch me slipping. And the reason why I say that is because I don't just dish out insults. I back my shit up. Every single thing that I say. Like, I don't know if it's a situation where people just remember the insults that I throw out and they don't remember the substance behind it, because that's what catches people's attention. But in the video that I made last week about Dolph Ziggler, yeah, I was, this is bullshit and go directly to jail, do not pass go, do not collect $200. But I laid out specific bullet points as to why I didn't like the fact that Dolph Ziggler won the championship. And going back to me not liking the booking of Seth Rollins' character in 2015, the things that I brought up: he was overexposed, that partnership with the Authority made him seem like a fucking punk, a weasel, just, I couldn't stand it at all, and WWE did not let him rest on his talent. He went out there and he talked about how good he was in the ring, he talked about how he was an architect, and WWE attempted to invalidate that every single chance that they get. If you look at all of those bullet points as to why I did not like the character of Seth Rollins in 2015, none of them ring true at this point in time in 2016. All of the issues that I had with him have been corrected. So it's at a point right now where, why do I have to hold anything against Seth Rollins if the specific issues that I had with him, they no longer exist? They are no longer relevant. Like, I look at Seth Rollins right now and that match that he had with Sami Zayn on Raw, that was some great stuff. The match that he had with Roman Reigns not too long ago, what's it at? Yeah, it was at Money in the Bank. Great stuff there. Like, they actually have Seth Rollins resting on his talent. And it's so fucking wonderful to sit there and actually enjoy what I'm seeing from Seth Rollins. I can look at him and say, this is a talented guy, and he can actually go out there and he can win matches on his own, and he can come up with strategy, and he can actually be an architect, and just a lot of great things happening for Seth Rollins. He's not really like, it's a weird thing in a sense that I don't think that he's doing anything revolutionary. He's just putting together a solid body of work, and I'm not going to ask for much more than that at this point, because the struggle was real. So shit, I'm not going to even push it too much. I'm just going to look at Seth Rollins and enjoy what I'm seeing. And speaking of Seth Rollins, he had a segment with Finn Balor on Raw, and I liked the segment, but I was really hoping that we would get that interview to find out who Finn Balor was on the main roster. And I wish that WWE would structure that differently, in a sense that, like, we can still get the match from Seth Rollins. We can still get some interaction between Finn Balor and Seth Rollins. But I wish they would have had Finn Balor go out to the ring, do the interview, and then have like a backstage confrontation between him, Seth Rollins, and then set up the physical confrontation in the ring for next week, because I just think it's so important that we actually hear from Finn Balor going forward into SummerSlam. Like, I think that is oh so important, and hopefully we still get that opportunity at a later date. It just didn't happen this week on Monday Night Raw. Still a good segment nonetheless. Some nice verbal exchanges between the two. But, yeah, I'm still going to need that story to be told on the main roster. Still going to need that question answered. Who the hell is Finn Balor? Because, hell, I, of course, know who he is. I have the shirt. I have about 5 other ones. I didn't even know how many Finn Balor shirts I had. But, shit, I got a lot of them. And I watched him down in NXT, enjoyed his work there. But there are a lot of people who are watching on a week-to-week basis the main roster of WWE. They don't know who Finn Balor is based off of what he did down in NXT, so you have to tell them who that guy is. And, yeah, that's it for this video. Thank you all for tuning in. Based off of what, I don't even know if I'm going to make a video about SmackDown tomorrow, but, of course, I'll be on PWF Empire Live on Wednesday. I am kind of liking making these solo videos, though. I am. This is pretty fun. But, yeah, thank you guys for tuning in, and catch you later. Peace.